Joining us, do not worry, you are right in time for the next discussion. From matters to do with politics, we now want to go to family matters, and today we will be looking at the whole question of addiction and how it afflicts the family, especially because, if you are, you have been around somebody who has been addicted, the immediate family are the ones who are affected mostly before, spills over to those who can actually come in and help in the situation. But of course, we'd love to hear from you, so just if you have any questions in regards to this discussion, please feel free to send them in on Twitter. The hashtag we are using is hashtag Good Morning Kenya. Our official station handle at KBC Television, at Jane Wamboi, at Ramaguko, and at Raymanyara is how you can find us across all the social media platforms. We will also be checking in with Doreen Aranga to just see the situations on our roads in not too long. So to help me with this discussion, in studio with me today, we have, I'll start with my immediate left, we have Randy Mayeka, who is an entrepreneur as well as a recovering addict. Karibu sana.
Thank you
for making time to be with us this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right, and to the extreme left, we have Bernard Murage, who is a counseling psychologist. Karibu sana.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. We're glad you guys were able to make time to be with us this morning. So once again, remember you can be part of this discussion on Twitter using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya. So we just want to understand how addiction works and the effects of addiction, especially in a family setup. So we'll just start with Randy. Just want to hear a bit about your story and when did you even find yourself in addiction?
Just after high school, I remember my first drink was in a party.
And which year is this that we're talking about after high school?
That is 2008.
2008. That was your first encounter with any form of, drug or substance?
Yes, that was the first time. And it came from a friend. A good idea, I thought, at the time. And then slowly graduated from drinking from a friend to buying for myself.
Yeah.
So I found myself purchasing alcohol here and there, small bottles. And then later on, I could sit on a table and, drink heavy. Yeah. And then from alcohol...
How long were you now using alcohol until you got to a point you're like, this is not giving me the high that I'm looking for?
That was just for 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, 2 years. And then cigarettes came in. Became from 1 stick to 3 sticks, from 3 sticks to a pack.
How did you even get to starting to use cigarettes? Were you introduced to it by somebody, or just curiosity took you there?
I could say much of it is curiosity.
Yeah.
I just thought it was fun. And then later, after drinking, and then I smoke one, it gets into the mind. And then now every time I see a drink, I want a smoke also. Yeah.
So you are going after a certain high that alcohol wasn't giving as well.
Yeah, very true.
And for how long did you now continue with alcohol and cigarettes at the same time?
Yeah, that continued for almost 2 years. And then, throughout the period I've been addicted to these things, I've always been having cigarettes and alcohol. So it's been graduating for me from whatever I have at one point, I will move on to another drug, but I still continue with what I started with.
Yeah, you're just adding on to the pile.
Yeah, true.
All right, we'll be getting to just continue with the story. Now, Bernard, what defines an addiction? What does addiction even mean in the first place for the benefit of our viewers?
Yeah, so what I can say, thank you for that question, is that there are a lot of terms that have been coined in the effort to describe what addiction is. And when you go out there and ask people what addiction is, people will give different answers. But just to state briefly what addiction is, maybe for the lay person to understand, I can say addiction is a disorder of the brain, which is marked by certain behavioral and physiological and also biological patterns in an individual, and which all of them together they affect an individual, how they function. So they impact the effects, they impact their social life, they also impact even how they relate with people. Now that's the social life. They impact, if it's their education, they impact it. So it affects not only their social aspect, but also their physical aspect. It affects also their physiological aspect. So just generally, if I was to describe addiction in a few words, I could just say it's a disorder of the brain, which is marked by a persistent use of a drug or a chemical substance or an indulgence in a compulsive behavior, which the individual continue indulging in despite negative consequences that are coming as a result of them engaging or indulging into drugs or the certain behavior.
It creates some sort of dependency to the substance itself.
Yeah, correct.
So that it gets to a point where you cannot do without, and that's when you qualify for addiction.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Now, when you started to use alcohol, it just started as something, you know, casually passing time with friends.
True.
Somebody introduced you to it, and you're like, ah, okay. Did it actually occur to you that you are addicted to it at some point, like 2 years down the line? Did it occur to you that you are addicted to it, or just like, ah, this is not good enough anymore?
Well,
That hadn't hit home.
I would say I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
I was having so much fun, but then it got to a point where every time I want to have fun, it has to include alcohol and, you know, other things. So that is when I realized I'm hooked. Yeah.
Now, were you able to just continue on with your daily activities, your daily chores, without having to take some alcohol, or you were able to just function properly?
Well, I will function well, but I wouldn't call it 100% functionality because, of course, I will lag behind. I will wake up late.
So you started noticing some, you know, changes in even how you behave.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So the first 2 years, just after high school, you've started to use alcohol. 2 years down the line, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, pick up cigarettes.
Yeah.
You continue with cigarettes for another 2 years.
Yeah.
The high has got into a place where your body has just built this tolerance to it.
True.
What came next after that?
The next thing was marijuana. And it also came from curiosity. And then and my company was also, you know, to me was good company. At that time, I thought. And then now I told myself, let me try this. And then I tried it, and you know, I dived deep later, after a year, let's say. It started from one stick. I could later on roll my own in my own home. And yeah, graduated from you know, simple smoking, recreational smoking, to now, you know, a serious need.
Yeah,
yeah,
like dependency, fully fledged.
Yeah, because
and you're
you know,
financing yourself throughout this.
Yeah, true. I will do my hustle, get my money. Sometimes, you know, you lie to people to get the money, including family and friends. So and then just to finance yourself, you could look for any other means. You
did whatever was necessary to just get money to just be able to buy that one stick, that one bottle, that one, you know, stick of either. And
then, you know, you also have to show up at the table. Yeah. Because one day a friend is buying, the next.
It's on you.
It's on me.
Now, just hearing from, so far we've had about alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana. Now, let's just start with the consequences of being addicted to one as opposed to three. And we're yet to complete his story. There is actually more to it. The addiction to just alcohol in itself, how does that even affect the body?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So what I'll say is that when you're talking about alcohol, when an individual takes alcohol, when it gets into the body, it's broken down. Now, all the drugs, let me first start by saying this, all the drugs of abuse, even the prescription medication over the counter, when they are used for other purpose which they were not intended for, that is now the drug abuse. And anytime someone uses a drug and it gets into the body, number one, when it goes to the brain, it goes to a part we call limbic system, and maybe just to generalize it, I could say it goes to the reward system of the brain. So it kind of rewards the individual. Now, maybe me and you and Randy, there's some things, and any other person may be hearing us today, there's some things that you do, activities, that you find that they give you pleasure. Yes. Maybe you watch a movie, maybe you go for swimming.
You get that dopamine.
Exactly. So there is, for you to get pleasure, there are some neurotransmitters in the brain or brain chemicals that are released. Yeah, so when you take drugs, automatically it goes to, actually, it releases the neurotransmitters even more compared to the natural maybe behavior or natural habit that you engage in that gives you the pleasure. So when you do that, number one thing, when you take drug, it registers, it gives you a reward. And the brain is a very, very intelligent part of our body. It remembers the experience. It remembers, when I drink alcohol, I'll feel high. When I drink alcohol, I will feel more confident. I'll feel that my low self-esteem will be alleviated. So now to come back to alcohol, as a drug, when it gets into the body, when it's broken down, now apart from the brain, the reward system, now alcohol itself, it affects the body. So
functionality.
The functionality also.
Yeah.
So and that's why actually I think it's one of the drugs that people are really and as in encouraged not to use it when operating machinery or when driving. So there's a lot of effects that can come as a result of someone taking alcohol. Just to mention a few, we have like maybe starting with the worst, we have like liver cirrhosis, we have like also certain types of cancer, ulcers can be made worse if you're taking alcohol, and also now we have the other part, the social part, even when now you come out of the body. So generally, I'll just say that if I was to give out a list of what alcohol does to the body, I'll just go mentioning any part of the body might be affected by alcohol, even the eyesight. And it's directly. Yeah. So you have heard of, I think it was aired some time back, of people who went to drink as an illicit brews, and they lost their eyes. So it affects. And some even died. Yeah, exactly. So it affects the body in different ways. And maybe to add on that, it also depends on the individual taking alcohol. Maybe right now, someone might take, a person A might take alcohol and person B might take alcohol. Yes, both of them maybe will be drowsy, but the effects it will have on their bodies might differ because they are unique. So you'll find someone has been taking alcohol for 10 years, he doesn't even have even liver cirrhosis. Another one just takes alcohol for 3 years. Done. It gets him, So it depends also with the individual, body makeup as well. The mechanism, the physiological aspect of the specific individual. You know, actually, you just mentioned something about the reward system, which I actually didn't know of how alcohol actually works. And it's very true, and you just think of it practically, the way the brain works and the way what you actually see from the person. It gives them, because you find they want to just keep drinking. You feel you're getting high, but you find somebody just continuing to drink, continuing, and you're wondering, why are you doing that? And you can see the situation you're in. And from there, you can't even walk. Somebody is staggering. You find others sleeping in ditches, in sewages. And it is as a result of just that, seeking that shot of dopamine, that excitement. Now, for you, what was the worst experience that you had, in that phase that you were just taking alcohol?
I have two examples, maybe just short ones. One time I was in a party, and guys were driving to go to the club, and something told me I'm not safe in this car, so I stepped out. And then just where I stood was a matatu stop. So I was waiting for a cab or a matatu. This is post the party or before? Just post the party. I'm already high. All right. And then it was just after the heavy rains. And just behind me was a ditch, a very, like a 7-foot deep ditch. And it was full of water because it was just after rain. And you're very tall yourself. Yeah, true. So I slipped and fell and went deep. And then I lifted my hands up, and I couldn't reach the ground because it's like above 6 feet. And myself, I'm 6 foot something. So a boda guy was passing, and I shouted, and he stopped and helped me out, and he also took me home. And I remember even looking for the money in my pocket. Everything was wet. But he just accepted. It had sewage in there? True, everything. You can't imagine. Why? Yeah. And even after having experienced that, you didn't feel like, and I can't be going through this. For me to forget the story, I went to drink the following day. To just kutoa stress ya jana? Yeah. And what was the second experience that you had? The second one was related to anger. I had a lot of anger issues. So I used to fight a lot. Every weekend I was getting arrested for fighting or damaging property. My fighting was extreme. And of course, all this time you were under influence, or you were also sober? I'm always under influence when I fight. And then you can even see I have one knuckle is missing. This is the knuckle here. It was pushed back? It was pushed back, as a result of fighting? Yeah, true. Oh, wow. And then, someone fell down, and then we had to run away because I don't know what happened next. And then now, now going to think of such things, you really wonder what's happening to me. And you didn't feel like this was a wake-up call? Well, at the time, I just felt as if I need to, because I was defending someone who was there. I felt I'm doing the right thing. But then later on, it all comes back to you.
Yeah,
That,
you
know,
face the
that's not cool.
consequences.
Yeah.
So you were then defending somebody who was probably not even in the fight.
Yeah, he wasn't in the fight, but he was part of my team.
Yeah. All right. Now, the other thing that he mentioned was cigarettes. Now, cigarettes are a whole category by themselves. Now, how do cigarettes, just affect even the brain?
So thank you for the question. What I'll say about cigarettes, the main ingredient is nicotine.
Yeah.
And that's why at times people say when you find someone who is abusing more than one drug, they'll say that it was some people, some experiences. So this is not a fact which has been which is evidence based. It's just based on the experience of people. So they'll say that for me quitting alcohol, I felt it was easier than when I was trying to quit cigarettes. So maybe trying to explain that, you'll find that it is about the nicotine, because when you are trying to stop using cigarettes,
wean yourself off of it.
Yeah, you'll find that there are two mechanisms that are working against that. Number one, we have the physiological aspect, and that's where now you crave for the nicotine. So your body realizes that there's something that is being administered, that was being administered in particular levels, and my blood is in need, or my body is in need of it. So you start feeling that there is an inner urge. It's not just a desire, there's an inner urge for you to use. Your body is kind of demanding it. And number two, another force which works against someone trying to stop the cigarette is now the behavioral part. You see, when you're taking cigarette, you're lighting it, you're putting it in the mouth, and then you're smoking, it's going to your lungs, you bring out. That's a behavioral part of it. So when you're used to that behavior, it becomes a pattern, it becomes a habit, and breaking a habit, it can be hard. So those two forces, they try to oppose you when you're trying to stop. So maybe now to answer your question about now the something to do with cigarettes, where now people take it, just like Randy said, it starts like it's just for recreational use. You say, hey, it looks fancy. When I take cigarettes, I look stylish. Maybe I'm taking it with a pipe, with a filter, and the ones that maybe you see.
So I'm safer.
So maybe I'm safer.
You tell yourself.
But in one or another, the nicotine is still getting into the bloodstream, and it's just a matter of time before you get hooked. And something that I usually tell my clients and also their families is that when you're talking about addiction or someone coming to get hooked to a certain drug, it is not, addiction is not an on and off switch button. It takes time. So you'll find that, and no one starts using alcohol or cigarettes or any other drug or even indulging into any other behavior with the hope or with the projection that I'm going to be an addict one day. No. It just starts like recreational. For fun. Yeah, and you see other people who say, hey, that person is taking a lot of it. And you also headed there. But other people also are saying, you're taking a lot of it. And you are saying other people are taking a lot of it. So before you realize it, you're in the same, you're in somewhere where you find yourself in between a hard place and a rock. Now you have maybe hit rock bottom, and now you see, hey, my life now is enmeshed in a trench that I cannot
get myself out
of.
So you end up finding yourself in a sinkhole that you dug yourself there while looking at others, looking at the speck in other people's eyes and not the log that was in yours.
In your own eye. And that's what for addiction treatment, one of the barriers that we try to breach through before even now we start as part of the recovery process is breaking, is taking the individual through a process where they'll be able to accept and realize that they have a problem. So acceptance is always the first stage. And acceptance, and now that's where we deal with the denial issues, where we tell an individual, maybe you have heard people saying you are in denial. And when you're saying people are in denial, is that they don't agree or they don't accept that the place that they are in a way, it's not as in other people maybe it's are not as bad as what people are saying. Yeah, so they say that wherever I am, me, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Me, I don't have a problem with drugs.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of manifestations, around 11 of a way denial manifests itself, sorry. Others will do the comparison, my problem is not bigger than theirs.
He's worse off than me.
The reason why I'm using drugs ni mamangu aniyekiangi biashara.
Okay.
The reason why I'm using drugs is that we call even blaming.
Blame game.
Yeah, blame game. Something like a strategic hopelessness.
Yeah.
Someone anasema, since I've tried rehab before and it doesn't work, what's the point even of trying again?
Okay.
I can't be helped.
We'll actually be getting to the recovery process and how that works. So as you just said, denial is always the first stage of acceptance, at least, you know. All right, so now he's on alcohol. He was on, he was on alcohol, then moved on to cigarettes, and now he picked up marijuana. Now, just even before we get to how those three effects work together, what is the difference between how cigarettes and marijuana work in terms of how they affect the brain? Because you find people say, I'm hooked to, I prefer cigarettes over marijuana, or the other way around. What is the difference in how they work? So, if there's any.
Okay, so I will start by repeating a statement that I made before and say that all drugs, regardless that it's a cigarette or it's a marijuana, they affect the body in one way or another.
The other.
Now, but the way they affect the body now differs.
It's dependent on the person themselves.
Dependent on the person, and also dependent on the type of drug and also the intensity of the drug used. So, and even the intensity now that comes to the maybe how long they've been using, how much they've been using, and other factors maybe which might also contribute, or which actually might what's the word, which might maybe someone might say this drug is affecting me more than this. So what I can say now about maybe alcohol and cigarettes, as I said earlier, cigarettes have nicotine, and that's the major thing. And when you talk about cannabis or marijuana, it has something called tetracannabinol, THC. And when even we are trying to, for instance, perform a drug test, the main ingredient that is that we look in, as when you're testing marijuana, we don't test just marijuana. The main ingredient that we're looking for is THC.
THC. That is what actually tells you that this person had used.
And so for cigarette and marijuana, maybe I can say a difference. I can say that for marijuana, when THC gets into the body, it is stored in fats. So when it's stored in fats, so if you have if the first time you used THC, it was stored as a fat. So and then when you used it again after a month, it is stored again as a fat. So there's a pile up. There's a pile up, and when this pile up continues, that's why you'll find when someone is not on he's not on marijuana, and they have stayed even for like a month without using, when they are tested, when we do a drug test, it will still show positive. And that's something that at times it's hard to explain to parents or the significant others of patients or of clients who come to us, because some of them say, I want to be sure, do a drug test, and then it becomes positive. And then maybe the person in recovery is very genuine. He or she was saying, I've not used marijuana for the last 1 month, or even for the last maybe 1 month, 1 week. But the
and for how long does it actually stay in the system
now that
before it fully disappears? If, let's say, you used it this month, you don't use it in May and June. By the time we get to June, will it still be showing in the blood system?
Now, maybe I don't want to answer a question that I'm not sure of, but what I'll say is this. You have heard rumors, people saying that if you take marijuana, it stays 7 years in there. 7 years, What I can say is this. When you take marijuana and you have long hair, maybe you have dreadlocks, if a sample is taken and maybe some tests are run, they can show that, maybe from that sample they can show that you are using. But when it comes now to how long it can stay in the body until it's wear off, again, there's some factors that determine how long it will come out.
Boils down to the person themselves.
Because this, to the person himself, thank you, and also to what that person is doing physically. So if that person is active, he's exercising, then it means they're burning a lot of fat. And as the fat are being burnt, so the THC is coming out is being excreted as waste, maybe as urine or as sweat. So it depends. And if a person is using and then in between they use again, it interferes with the process of how long it could have taken to
clear off the body.
So just to answer your question, I won't give a specific time, but I'll say this. What I'm sure of is that if someone is using THC and has been using it, marijuana that is, and has been using it for some time, you'll find that even after a month, it can show. There's a very big possibility that when a drug test is done, it will show positive. If they were maybe moderate to heavy user, so it might show. That possibility is high. But now the time as to which the THC can stay in the bloodstream before it wears off, the answer I can give, which I'm very correct, is it depends with the fats or the fats that are stored that had THC. As long as they're in the body, anytime maybe you perform exercise or you the waste is excreted, you'll find that you don't necessarily have to perform exercise. Waste will still be excreted. So anytime you do that, you'll find that in the waste product, there might be some traces of THC.
So it's excreted in one way or the other. Now, in terms of how it now affects the brain, what is the process there? Is it different from how the cigarette operates, or is it general, they're in the same category?
Okay, again, I'll start with the answer which is correct to both of the drugs, and then I'll move now to something which is unique to THC. So both of the cigarette and nicotine, they affect the brain. Research have shown that if you take a CT scan of someone who uses drugs and someone who doesn't use a drug, you'll find that there's some in the brain, there's something we call gray matter, gray and white matter. So you'll find that the composition of the person who is using drugs and the person who is not using drugs differs. So the person who is using drugs is lesser. So in other words, what we are saying is the matter in the brain, it's lesser as a result of using drugs compared to the brain matter of someone who is not using drugs. So and now that's a general statement. Now when we come to if I'm specific about THC, what I'll say is that when you're using THC, the marijuana, sorry. Now the THC in it, when it gets into the brain, it's make the brain kind of shrink, because when the gray matter is less, it means the brain is shrinking
in size.
Now you don't want to ask me what will happen if your brain shrinks. So as in, a lot of things can go wrong, because the sleep patterns, appetite, your social relationships, your occupational, how you perform jobs, how you relate with people, the things that used to give you pleasure no longer gives you pleasure. A lot of things can go wrong because our brain is the coordinator of our body. It's the CEO of our entire body. So if it is shrinking, then it means there's some functions of it that are being compromised.
Now, Randy, you are now at a point where alcohol is not doing it for you, cigarettes is not doing it for you. You now picked up marijuana, or better known as weed, for the younger category. And how long were you now using marijuana?
I used it for, let's say, 3 years, and progressively became better and better for me. You felt it was giving you a better high as opposed to, cigarettes and alcohol. Yeah, true. But then one day I was introduced to something else. And what was that? That was cocaine. Cocaine. Yeah. Wow. Was that like, I need to take did you have that moment where I need to take a step back and actually reevaluate what I'm doing with my life? Or you're like, okay, cocaine, what is this white stuff, So the guy who introduced me to cocaine, he was also taking marijuana, with me. So I thought it can't be that bad. Yeah. So we mixed it with cocaine, with the weed. Yeah. And then it became something interesting. Yeah. I remember we were walking, going towards town, and it was raining. Everybody was hiding in the shades, except us. And then I told my friend, you know, I think we should probably go and hide. Maybe the president is passing through, you know, that's why people are hiding.
Yeah.
But it was raining, you know, and people were hiding from the rain.
Yeah.
But we couldn't feel anything because we were numb.
So it brought that numbness and that hallucinogen state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we realized we were wet a few hours later.
Hours later.
Yeah.
So in a sense, you were in a different space altogether because you were on marijuana and cocaine at the same time. Now, just hearing from what he's saying, from alcohol to cigarettes to marijuana to now cocaine, mixing all these things together, and it's over a 10-year period, since 2008 up until last year, 2018 is when you were, you know, on all these drugs. Now that he's brought in cocaine, what does that even mean for his body?
Just one word, things are getting worse.
Things are getting worse.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, how does cocaine actually now affect the body, just to try and understand the difference with, you know, from, because for him, he was upgrading, you know, alcohol, not good enough for 2 years, cigarettes, another 2 years, marijuana, 3 years, and now cocaine.
So thank you for the question. What I'll say is that when you're talking about cocaine, and now with Randy's case, he was graduating. He started cigarette. I didn't get it clear if he was just graduating and leaving cigarette, or he was using them all together.
Maybe you can clarify on that. Were you using them all together, or just leaving one behind as we move on to the next?
Alcohol was the brother to cigarettes, and then cigarettes were brothers with marijuana.
So walibebana wote kwa nyumba?
Yeah, but then the cocaine was just for a while.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so for that, maybe what I can say is that when someone is using one drug and another, and they are combining it, like the way he put it, cigarettes, alcohol was a brother to cigarettes, and cigarettes was a very, very close brother to marijuana.
Yeah.
So you'll find that there's something that we call drug interaction disorder, where an individual, this happens to a patient who's using more than one drug. So, and they find that I can't take one drug and not take the other. They'll find someone saying, I can't take a glass of whiskey and I'm not smoking, or I can't take marijuana and I'm not maybe chewing cut. Yeah. So it is drug interaction disorder. And now when you're trying to, as you said, we'll come later to that, maybe treatment. When we come to that, you'll find that for treatment purposes, when it comes out to drug interaction disorder, we try to bring interventions that will be able to address all these things now in general. But not to answer your question on the cocaine. Definitely, when someone is using cocaine, it means the effect it has in the brain, it's a higher compared maybe to cigarettes. The reason being, number one, on the reward system, maybe it's rewarding you more.
The tolerance level is just up there.
Yeah, it's going up and up and up. So you feel that when I'm using cocaine, I feel more high than I'm using marijuana. And as I told you, brain is a very intelligent part of the body. It remembers.
Go for the best.
It remembers, so it will want the best. So it will be like, why are you using marijuana? And cocaine does a better job than marijuana.
And you're there justifying it to yourself. Now, for these 10 years that you were using alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, and now cocaine, you also mentioned that you picked up Mira along the way.
Yeah.
How was your family relationship? How was the relationship with your parents and your siblings throughout this period?
Personally, I'm a very social person. I've never had a problem with socializing. But of course, I was withdrawing from my parent. I have a single mother and a young sister. And of course, they couldn't understand why I don't appear in family events, for example. Like the last time before I went for rehab, there was a very big event and I was the only one missing. Nobody could understand why. Did your mother know that you were actually abusing all these drugs in that 10-year period? No. She didn't know? She just knew I was using alcohol because that is obvious. You know, with the staggering and, you know, such things. But the others were kept in very high lock and key. Yeah. And what about on your health? What are some of the effects that you were able to see over the years that, you know, your health has been compromised in one way or the other? Yeah, because of the smoking, I couldn't breathe well. I was coughing. And because of the drinking, you know, I couldn't articulate my speech well also.
Yeah.
I couldn't focus on tasks. I couldn't show up for, timelines. Even my own goals were nothing more to me,
It's just another distraction for you,
just
at least in that
distraction,
period in
yeah.
life that you were
Yeah,
in.
true.
All right.
Yeah.
And all this while, you needed money to finance all these activities. How were you employed to start with that?
For some time, I studied wildlife management and tour guiding.
Yeah.
So after school, my side hustle, which I survived with for long, was a tour guiding business.
Yeah.
That was just not affiliated to any company. I was just doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And funds usually came in from, you can, if you're broke, you can, lie to a family friend or maybe to your parent,
Yeah.
so that you can get something for the day, for the week.
Okay.
And that's how I went on. And then, even your friends, the company will always fund you.
There'll always be a
There's
spare
always
coin for
somebody
you.
with something for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And were you able to complete your studies during that 10-year period?
For one of the courses I wasn't able to complete. I usually started a course and, it slips
Dropped
away.
it midway.
Slips away in the middle, yeah.
And how was this affecting your mother specifically, not even just the relation, because she's here trying to understand what you are going through, yet you are pulling away from her. She's also paying money for you for school, and you're not completing it as a whole.
Yeah, of course she was sad, and I know she's watching.
Yeah.
She was...
Hi, Mom.
Sasa.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just saw her physically, she's withered.
Yeah.
She's not happy. She sees that something is wrong, but she couldn't get what it is, because physically I could, look so well. But something was wrong, communication was not flowing well as mother to son.
Yeah.
And, she is the closest parent I have. She's the only parent I have. I've known for a while, since I was 10.
Yeah.
And so even for my sister, she couldn't open up to me so much.
And especially for her, given that she was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things I've been missing out, just because I was in a zone. It's like I'm completely married to my addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so in one way or the other, it definitely affected your relationship with your mother and your younger sister, considering she was actually maybe looking up to you.
Yeah, true.
And here you are just going down the drain and you're not realizing it in time.
Yeah.
Now, for most families, they are affected in one way or the other, but how does even the family come in to help this person just pull them out from that abyss that they have been in for so long? What role can the family play to just be able to help them come from addiction?
Thank you for the question. What I'd say, maybe allow me first to say this before I come to the question. When looking at addiction, at times we say addiction is a family disease, where we say it might affect one person. One person might be the one using drugs or indulging in a compulsive behavior, but you find that the effects or the consequences that are coming as a result of this person indulging into behavior, they have tentacles that spread to the entire family.
Yeah.
So with that said, now when it comes to the family and how they can come in, actually, let me say this is one of the challenges that that is experienced as far as recovery is concerned.
Yeah.
Because number one, parents don't know how. Not all of them, but parents, they lack the proper guidance on how to support someone who is in addiction.
Yeah.
So you find that someone who is in addiction, who is trying to come out of the menace, you find that the family, they don't understand how to help them. So they are helping them the best way they know how. And we can't blame them because they want the best for their children.
Yeah.
But the way they are going about it, since they don't have professional guidance on how to...
It becomes counterproductive.
Exactly. It becomes counterproductive. At times even it makes matters worse. Yeah, so I can say that it's a challenge that we are trying, and even part of what we're doing right now, at least creating an awareness, at least a parent will understand that that's a disease.
Yeah.
Just like the way you can hear about malaria, cancer is a disease. And if it's a disease, just like the rest, there is a treatment regime that is followed. So where do we come in in that regime.
Okay.
So family support is very, very important. Actually, it's one of the pillars.
It starts in the family before it even spills out.
Yeah.
All right. You know, this is a discussion that we cannot exhaust in this one sitting. There's so many other areas that we haven't been able to tackle. So we're going to continue with this discussion next week right here on Good Morning Kenya, still on the looking at the whole family aspect of family, because, you know, it starts there. Your mother may have noticed, your brother may have noticed, your father may have noticed, but they are not able, they do not know how to go about and just trying to be able to assist this person who is in this situation that is, you know, just addicted and abusing drugs. So we will continue with this discussion. Unfortunately, right now we are short of time. We have another discussion coming on with Ramaguko, so we will pause there. But we will pick up this discussion next week right here on Good Morning Kenya, still on the whole family segment. And now even go further and look at how the role that the government can play towards just trying to help the whole addiction and just the whole scope of addiction, and what can the government do just go towards helping the situation. But thank you very much. We have been speaking with Randy Mayeka, who is to my immediate left. He is an entrepreneur as well as a recovering addict, was addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, cocaine, did cocaine for some time, as well as Mira, between the years of 2008 up until 2018. Right now he is in recovery and he's doing so well. And to the extreme left we have Bernard Murage, who is a counseling psychologist who has been working with, you know, people who have been afflicted by addiction in one way or the other. Thank you so much, gentlemen. We will be sure to continue with this discussion next week. All right, so we want to take a break, but before we take that break, we want to just share with you a small feature that was done in regards to anxiety. You find that anxiety is actually one of the aftermath that comes along during, you know, the withdrawal period, and even during the period that you are addicted to whatever drug that you are using. But that is just in relation to the discussion here. But we want to just run this feature for you to just try and help you to understand how you can deal with anxiety and how it affects you as a person. So do not go anywhere. This is Good Morning Kenya.
Experiencing occasional anxiety is a normal part of life, and everyone has moments when they may feel anxious every now and then over something. For example, you may feel nervous when faced with a problem at work, before taking a test, or before making an important decision. However, what people may not be aware of is that too much anxiety may lead to a condition known as anxiety disorder, which is a mental condition that can prevent one from carrying on with their normal life. Anxiety disorders are of different categories, and some of them include panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, and general anxiety disorder. Panic disorder is one that makes an individual feel terror that strikes at random. During a panic attack, you may also sweat, have chest pains, and feel irregular heartbeats. Sometimes you may feel like you're choking or having a heart attack. Although health experts have not been able to find the root cause of panic disorder, they however say that these kinds of attacks are exceedingly common, and some people experience them once or twice in their lifetime. Others have them whenever they are speaking in public or preparing for an important phone call. When it comes to social anxiety, this is when you feel overwhelming worry and self-consciousness about everyday social situations. You fixate about others judging you or being embarrassed or ridiculed. In average human brain, social anxiety starts when some event catches your attention and sets off the alarm system in your brain. People with this disorder have trouble talking to people, meeting new people, and attending social gatherings. Such kinds of individuals may understand that their fears are irrational or unreasonable, but feel powerless to overcome them. Social anxiety is different from shyness, as it's persistent and debilitating. The major cause of this disorder is negative experiences such as bullying, family conflicts, and sexual abuse. General anxiety disorder, on the other hand, makes one to feel excessive, unrealistic worry and tension with little or no reason. Sometimes people with this condition just worry, but they are unable to say what they are worried about. They report feelings that something bad may happen, or may report that they just can't calm themselves. The sad reality about this kind of anxiety is that it may lead to depression, which has in recent times become a leading cause of death. Some of its causes are recent or prolonged exposure to stressful situations, which may include personal or family illnesses, excessive use of caffeine or tobacco, which can make existing anxiety worse, and also child abuse. And inasmuch as feeling anxious may be normal, too much anxiety may be detrimental, especially to one's mental health. However, there are simple ways in which one can deal with anxiety for their well-being. These ways are exercises that relieve anxiety, such as yoga. Getting some sun exposure, as vitamin D deficiency may contribute to one's anxiety. And the best way is to practice meditation by relaxation and doing meditation routines, which are very effective at lowering anxiety levels. This is especially for people with generalized anxiety disorder. And when the anxiety becomes too much of a concern, it's important to talk to a therapist, psychologist, or a psychiatrist about your experiences, because having a good mental health is important. Doreen Arange for GMK.